Imagine the shock of realizing the man who vowed to love and protect you has been secretly keeping another woman. And the moment he is caught, he turns on you in a fit of pure rage, grabbing a fistful of your hair right in front of his own parents, while his mistress stands there watching. That single brutal second can shatter a heart into pieces no one thinks can ever be put back together. If this story touches you in any way, please take a second to subscribe to Kindness Miracles, hit that like button, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more stories that prove kindness still has the power to heal the deepest wounds. My name is Emily Carter, and until 3 years ago, I believed I had the kind of marriage every girl dreams about. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, in a house with a white porch swing and a little garden where I grew tomatoes every summer. My husband, David, worked long hours at a downtown marketing firm. He was charming, successful, and always the first to make people laugh at family dinners. His parents adored him, and for the first 5 years of our marriage I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday evening when David's mother called and asked us to come over for an early dinner. She said she had something important to discuss. When we arrived, his father was already seated at the dining table looking pale. Beside him stood a beautiful woman in a red dress I had never seen before. David froze in the doorway. The woman looked straight at me and said, in a voice that was almost gentle, "You must be Emily. I'm Sarah. I've been with your husband for the past 2 years." The room went silent. David's face turned the color of ash. His mother started crying. Then, without warning, David spun toward me, grabbed a handful of my hair, and yanked so hard I stumbled forward. He shouted that I had ruined everything, that I was the reason his secret life was collapsing. His parents watched in horror. Sarah simply stood there, arms crossed, as if she had seen this side of him before. In that moment, I felt smaller than I had ever felt in my life. The man who once kissed my forehead every night before sleep was now hurting me in front of the people who raised him. I drove home alone that night with tears blurring the road. I packed a small bag and checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town because I could not bear to sleep in our bed. For 3 days I barely ate. I kept replaying the moment his hand twisted in my hair, the look of pure hatred in his eyes. I thought my life was over. On the 4th morning, a soft knock came at the motel door. It was Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly woman who lived next door to our house and always waved when she watered her roses. She had noticed my car missing and somehow tracked me down. She did not ask a single question about what happened. She simply held out a thermos of homemade chicken soup and said, "You look like you need something warm." I invited her in. We sat on the edge of the bed while the rain tapped against the window. She told me about the year her husband left her with 2 small children and no money. She said the only thing that kept her going was the quiet kindness of strangers who brought groceries, watched the kids so she could work, and never once made her feel ashamed. "Kindness does not fix the past," she said, "but it gives you the strength to walk into a different future." That night, I slept better than I had in days. The next morning, I called a local women's support group I found online. A volunteer named Rachel met me for coffee. She listened without judgment while I told her everything. The affair, the hair pulling, the shame. She did not tell me what to do. She simply said, "You are allowed to protect your heart, and you are allowed to heal at your own pace." Over the following weeks, small acts of kindness kept appearing like unexpected sunlight. The motel manager, a quiet man named James, slipped an extra towel and a fresh bar of soap under my door every other day without charging me. A barista at the coffee shop near the support center remembered my name and always added an extra shot of vanilla because she said I looked like I needed something sweet. My sister flew in from California and stayed for 2 weeks, cooking simple meals and sitting with me in silence when words felt too heavy. David tried to contact me. He left voicemails apologizing, then angry messages blaming me, then more apologies. I blocked his number. His parents eventually reached out. His mother cried on the phone and said she had no idea about Sarah. She asked if she could see me. I agreed to meet her at a park. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "I am so sorry we failed to protect you that night." I told her I forgave her. Forgiving David would take longer, but I was learning that forgiveness is not the same as allowing someone back into your life. 6 months after that terrible evening, I moved into a small apartment across town. I started volunteering at the same support group that had helped me. I listened to other women share their stories of betrayal and abuse, and I offered the same quiet presence Mrs. Alvarez had given me. One afternoon, a young woman named Taylor sat across from me, shaking as she described how her partner had shoved her in front of their children. I reached across the table and held her hand. I did not give advice. I simply said, "You are not alone, and you deserve safety." The look of relief on her face reminded me how powerful a single kind moment can be. A year later, I received a letter from Sarah. She wrote that she had left David after realizing he treated her the same way he had treated me. She apologized for the pain she had caused and said she hoped I was finding peace. I wrote back a short note thanking her for her honesty and wishing her well. That simple exchange closed a chapter one thought would stay open forever. Today I live in a bright little house with a porch swing of my own. I still grow tomatoes every summer. I am not married, and I am not looking for anyone to complete me. I have learned that the deepest kindness often comes from the people who have nothing to gain by offering it. Mrs. Alvarez still brings me soup when the weather turns cold. Rachel from the support group has become one of my closest friends. And every time I sit with a woman who has been hurt the way I was hurt, I remember the night a stranger knocked on a motel door with a thermos of soup and quietly reminded me that my story was not over.